Now, everybody's glamping journey takes the exact same route. You start thinking about how cool it would be to be in a forest with magical places for everybody to stay at. And then you realize you've opened a can of worms that's bigger than you ever even wanted to get into. Now, I've spent a lot of time looking at erect structures, and no, I'm not talking about my late night browser history. I'm talking about structures to put on your glamp site. Now, which structure will have you smiling all the way to the bank, and which structure will have you looking for a condo downtown instead? Let's talk about it. Nice flippin' choice. What's up, all you glamping gurus and outdoor aficionados? It's Garrett Brown from the Nice Flippin' Choice channel, back again with another glamping video. Now, one of the hardest things to do when you're trying to plan your glamp site with all the permits and all the designs and all the subscribing to my channel and everything else that comes in between it, one of the hardest and most critical early stages you have to do is what structure are you going to put on your glamping site. Now, you can have one structure and scale it out to a multitude. You can have several different types of structures, or you can have one structure, but you have to figure out what you're going to start with. Knowing what structure you're going to use is going to help you get the permitting department on your side, and that is the hardest part with building a glamp site. There are some permitting departments that will love you. There are some permitting departments that will hate you. Find the ones that will work with what you're doing and know what structure you're going to do from the jump, and you'll be able to show your vision even more clearly. So when I was starting to build my glamp site, I have one Geo Dome done. I have a ranch house on it, and I also have a couple other structures in the works. Possibly a teepee, possibly a glass house, possibly a tree house. There's many things up in debate, and getting financing for them is tougher, but now that I have the proof of concept, it's gonna be a little easier to get some investors on my side. So with that being said, I'm gonna rank my top 10 glamping structures to make you money from my least favorite to my most favorite. Now, I'll rank them on a few different things like cost, difficulty of setup, wow factor, and durability. Now, these are just my personal opinions, and I'm sure a lot of you will disagree. So let me know in the comments if you have some that I ranked too high or I ranked too low, or maybe some I missed. Without further ado, let's get into the list. Number 10 is canvas or Belle style tents. Now, these are very popular because they do not cost a lot to set up. They do well off grid and are able to provide a temporary structure within permitting departments a lot of the time, but they don't last too long, and you probably won't get as much ROI out of these as you think. Not as many people are gonna be looking into just stay in a regular kind of canvas style tent, in my personal opinion. Number 9 is shipping containers. These are probably lower than some people would rank on their list. I think they're very cool, and they have, their own aesthetic to them, as you could say. But my personal opinion, I think they're becoming a little overdone, a little outdated. That industrial kind of look will eventually fade, in my opinion. There's a lot of difficulties with the actual structure that a lot of architects have made videos about, YouTube videos about, and things like that talk about when you start modifying a lot of these, how they're not really built for what they are, and they start becoming more expensive than just some of these regular other builds out there. That's just my personal opinion. It's hot take alert. I'm sure their comments are, it's gonna withstand a meteor shower and be here for 300 years and blah, blah, blah. That may be your opinion, but I'm not really sold on the shipping containers. Now, number 8 is a teepee. This is a little bit further than the canvas tents. You have the benefits of it not really costing too much to start up as well. It still can be a very unique piece. There's different ones out there. It can still be a very unique piece and still have that wow factor for a lot of different people that want to stay there to get a premium. They do well off grid as well. I'm doing some research into possibly putting some in different places. One thing that I have been trying to research though is there's any companies out there that actually support Native American tribes when they're doing some of these designs and other things like that. I haven't really found anything yet. I'm just starting my process in it though. So if you know any companies, let me know, because I would love to support that over some of these other companies out there that are just doing it to make a buck. Number 7 is yurts. These are very cool. They can be off grid or on grid very well. They have a nice aesthetic design to them. I think the lack of windows personally bothers me with some of these. And I also think there's just different upkeep and maintenance to them that they're not really gonna add much value to your property and will have to be changed out a few times. That's why it's not a little higher on the list, but these are very successful on different short-term rental platforms, and they do perform well no matter really what you're trying to do with them. Number 6 is tiny homes. Now, I love a good tiny home design. There's a lot of them out there. One reason that I really do love a tiny house is that they will add a lot of resale value and appraisal value to your property. Some of these other ones that I'm talking about are not gonna add much value to your property if you wanna go resell it on a residential side or anything like that. Something like a Yurt or even my poor favorite Geo Dome, they're not gonna add too much resale value because appraisers aren't gonna be able to really comp them out to anything comparable. They will bring in a lot of business and you could sell it as a business package later on, but a tiny home, you could always sell in the residential market and get a good amount of money out of it, and lenders will be able to lend on it. You won't have to just get cash like you would with some of these other places. It's also a lot easier getting a construction loan on a tiny home or something like that compared to some of these other ones. A lot of them are gonna be cash. You could possibly get a lender to lend on these and it will help you in the building process to not have to fork out so much straight up front. Now you can get cheaper ones that move around and don't have a foundation, and they'll be considered more mobile homes, so they may not add as much in the appraisal value. You need to have something that's actually based on a foundation, in my opinion, but there are different options. Great design can bring in some great returns though. Just ask the Kardashians. Number 5 is Geo Domes. Now I will admit I wanted to put this higher because yes, I am biased. I don't care, I will admit it. I think Geo Domes are amazing. They're relatively inexpensive compared to some other options. They can get pricey though, especially if you're going on grid like me. They're almost indestructible to all different types of weather and usually pretty easy to have architecture plans to get permits on them. They also make really cool photos and the window really draws in a lot of people to want to stay there, but they do not really hold the resale value as some of these other items that did make it higher. Now, one reason I'm not as high on Geo Domes is just because of the resale value like I talked earlier. Appraisers in your area are probably gonna look at that and go, what the hell is that? I'm actually gonna reach out to some appraisers pretty soon to see what is their opinions on some of these things. What do they expect to have better resale value if I have to pay them for their time? We're gonna find out if this actually works. I definitely will relay any of my findings. Let me know in the comments if y'all want me to interview an appraiser or anything like that, or somebody in particular that can give a lot more expert knowledge on the subject, and I'll make that content for y'all. Number 4 is a Barndominium. These have great resale value, great value for events, great value for Airbnb. There's a lot of really positives to these things. They look really cool too, in my opinion. You can make them kind of special in a few different ways, especially if you're planning the glamping or short-term rental site with it. It's also pretty easy to get loans on Barndominiums as well too. A lot of different construction loans and lenders are doing these now because there's a lot more out there. Now you can go simple or even bigger on some of these and get a lot more out of your value. Now the more expansive you get, the more it will cost, as with anything that has a happy ending. Now number 3 is an A-frame. We're getting into the top 3 now. These are very, very popular and very, very cool online as well. These are starting to pop up even more than your ex-high school classmate trying to get you into a Ponzi scheme, but they're killer on Airbnb. I see some of the highest revenue returns and some of the best rated places having A-frames. The design is really sleek. They're kind of low maintenance because of how they're designed, and with the right marketing and design to them, you can really make a killer on some STRs with these. Now, number 2 is a treehouse. I'm contradicting myself a little bit because I've been talking about resale value for a lot of these as well, and appraisal values for going down the line. And tree houses are probably not going to hit very much in either one of these unless you happen to have a magical land of tree houses that have been selling everywhere. But the ROI on these things are usually pretty crazy. They cost a lot to get into. There's a lot of architecture and permitting that's probably gonna have to be done with these because, well, you're most likely building in a tree. These can get up to $1,000 a night in some of these places that I've seen, and you might only have to spend between $100,000 to $200,000 for some of these. Yeah, that's a lot of money. I'm not acting like it isn't, but the ROI, if you can explain this to some investors and tell them about your plan and show them some of the other successful ones out there, it's probably gonna be something down the line that you wanna check out, because I know I sure am right now. Drum roll, please. Number one. This is pretty much just saying create the most unique place you can. There's not, if you're gonna have to imagine it, because I couldn't even put it on this list because it's probably not been done yet. Airbnb just did their OMG Fund contest, which was looking for some of these unique stays that are just out of this world, basically, you know, to say the least. I actually made it to the top 200 of it. Got very close to winning that prize. It's okay because it inspired a lot of me. I do have a video. I'll put it in the description or link it above if I always forget or remember. And you can check that out to see what exactly I planned and designed and how I got into the top 200. But why I'm ending with this and why it's the most important one in my opinion is because if you really want to stand out with everything going forward, you have to make the most unique stay you can, whether it's a home in a glass bubble, a home that looks like a flower pot. I saw one of those There was tons of them out there, and there's tons that are probably in your brain. These become so much tougher because there's contracting issues, there's gonna be permitting issues, there's gonna be all types of issues that go into your way making this. But if you succeed and make something very unique that is not everywhere else, or that is Instagrammable or TikTok worthy for the younger generation out there, then I guarantee you the marketing will be so easy, it will market itself. One of the main rules in marketing, dope sells. Get your creative juices flowing and find a contractor and architect that can kind of see your vision if you have it, and you're probably gonna have to find an investor to see the vision too. But with that being said, you can move some of these around, especially if you're planning off-grid versus on-grid. A lot of different factors that go into it. These are just my personal favorite. Let me know in the comments if I forgot anything. If you haven't subscribed yet, help me out. Until the next time, peace.